Welcome back to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be exploring a book called The Gospel According to the Spirits by Allan Kardec.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, have you heard of this one before?
I have, yeah.
Okay, cool. So this book is one of the fundamental texts in Spiritism.
Yeah.
And Spiritism is a 19th century movement that explored the relationship between the spirit world and our physical world, kind of like how they work together.
Yeah, I've read a bit about that.
Okay, great. And you actually suggested this book because you're super interested in what it has to say about family,
Right.
especially the commandment to honor your father and mother.
Absolutely.
I have to admit, when I first saw that on our list, I was like, okay, this is going to be pretty standard stuff. But
Right.
Kardec's take on it totally blew my mind. It was not what I was expecting at all.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most fascinating things about Kardec.
Okay.
He takes these seemingly simple ideas, like you were just saying,
Right.
and reveals this incredible spiritual depth to them.
Yeah, totally. So let's dive into this idea of honoring parents then. What makes Kardec's perspective so unique?
Well, the first thing is that he actually uses the term filial devotion,
Okay.
and he's very, very specific about what that actually entails.
Okay.
It's not just like basic respect, it's way more than that.
Uh-huh.
We're talking about consideration, submission to their wishes.
Oh, wow.
Assisting them in need and providing comfort, especially as they age.
Right.
He sees it as like this sacred debt we owe to them
I love
for
that.
the care they gave us when we were helpless, as children.
Right, when we were totally dependent on them.
Exactly.
Wow, a sacred debt. I love that phrase. It really elevates the responsibility we have toward our parents.
For sure.
But what happens if we don't quite live up to that responsibility?
Right.
Does Kardec talk about the consequences of neglecting this filial devotion?
Absolutely, he does.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where it gets a little intense.
Oh.
He suggests that those who consistently fail to honor their parents could actually end up experiencing that same neglect and ingratitude in their own lives.
Oh, wow.
And that might happen in this life or even carry over into the next as a challenge we have to overcome.
So it's not just about being like a quote-unquote good person. There are actual spiritual repercussions.
That's exactly how Kardec sees it.
Wow.
He gives this really stark example to illustrate his point.
Okay.
Imagine children who are living comfortably
Okay.
while only giving their aging parents the absolute bare minimum. Like maybe they keep the best parts of the house for themselves and relegate their parents to a cramped little room or something. He
Mhm.
presents that as just blatant disregard for the sacrifices the parents make.
Yeah, that's a really powerful image. And to be honest with you, it makes me think about how our society treats older people in general.
Yeah.
It's not always great,
That's
But what about those situations where parents haven't really been ideal caregivers? I mean, I'm thinking about cases of abuse or neglect, things like that. Does Kardec address those tougher situations?
He does, and that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
He acknowledges that not all parents perfectly fulfill their roles.
Right.
However, he emphasizes that it's not really the child's place to judge them.
Hmm.
He believes the judgment ultimately is left to a higher power.
Okay.
So instead, he encourages children to focus on repaying any evil they've received with good, practicing forgiveness, indulgence, like Jesus taught.
Okay, that makes sense. And you know what? That reminds me of that passage where Jesus seems to distance himself from his own family. He asks, "Who is my mother and who are my brothers?" It always felt a little harsh to me, I have to say.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those passages that has caused a lot of discussion and debate.
Yeah.
But Kardec clarifies that Jesus wasn't actually rejecting his earthly family.
Okay.
He was actually trying to make a very profound point about the true meaning of kinship.
Okay, so there's more to it than just the surface.
Absolutely, yeah. There's this distinction he makes between corporeal kinship, based on blood ties,
Right.
and spirit kinship, which is based on shared values, and that spiritual connection you have.
So he was saying that family is more than just who we share DNA with.
Exactly. Yeah, spirit kinship can exist before our physical lives,
Oh, wow.
during our lives, and
Yeah.
even after.
Yeah.
It completely transcends anything physical, and it's strengthened through our spiritual progress. So two people who are completely unrelated by blood
Right.
could actually be closer spiritually than siblings.
That's amazing. It really makes you rethink this whole idea of family.
Absolutely.
But what about all the difficult family relationships that we experience? Could those also be tied to this idea of spirit kinship?
Kardec actually addresses that directly.
Okay.
He suggests that sometimes challenging relationships might actually be reflecting what he calls past life antipathies. Almost like we're carrying over unresolved conflicts from a previous life into a new one, and it's causing some serious tension.
Oh, wow. That's heavy stuff.
It is. It is.
So back to that passage with Jesus. Was he surrounded by his, spirit family at that moment?
That's a great question. According to Kardec, yeah, Jesus was highlighting his spiritual family, those united by their commitment to doing God's will.
So it wasn't that he was rejecting his family. He was emphasizing that true kinship goes beyond just those earthly ties.
Exactly. It's about shared purpose and spiritual alignment.
It makes me wonder then, even within our earthly families, there could be these deeper spiritual connections that are kind of weaving everything together.
Absolutely.
It raises a lot of questions, though. If our souls are actually connected across multiple lifetimes, could those really difficult relationships actually be opportunities for us to grow spiritually?
Yeah. And Kardec really tackles this head on when he talks about children being ungrateful to their parents. He offers this spiritual explanation that could be comforting to anyone who's experienced that type of hurt.
Okay, I'm really intrigued. What does he have to say about this?
So he explains that when spirits leave the physical world,
Okay.
they can actually carry unresolved emotions into the afterlife, even desires for vengeance.
Hold on. So we're talking about vengeful spirits haunting their families.
Well, it's not quite like a horror movie. It's not ghosts jumping out and saying boo.
Okay.
But he believes that some spirits who are really trying to evolve and progress might actually choose to reincarnate into the family of someone they wronged in a past life. It's seen as a test
Oh, wow.
and an opportunity for both people to grow.
So the animosity that a child might have towards a parent could actually be a past life conflict playing out.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that this isn't about blame or punishment.
Right.
It's about giving both the child and the parent a chance to heal and move forward.
That's a really powerful way to look at it. But it must be so difficult for parents to approach these situations with love when they feel like they're being pushed away.
I completely agree with you. It'd be very challenging. But Kardec suggests this powerful perspective shift.
Okay.
He encourages parents to see these children not as burdens, but as souls that have been entrusted to their care for their spiritual development.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if you saw that difficult child as a soul who's working through something from a past life and seeking healing and resolution.
Right. It really changes how you'd see them.
It reframes the whole dynamic.
And instead of seeing it as a personal attack, it becomes an opportunity for everyone to grow.
Exactly.
That's a profound realization. And speaking of growth, I want to circle back to this idea of spirit families, these groups of souls that are drawn to each other across multiple lifetimes. It makes you wonder if some of the people we're drawn to in this life, even those we might clash with, could actually be part of our spirit family.
It's definitely a possibility, and it makes those connections we have that seem random feel so much more meaningful.
Right, like they were meant to be.
Yeah, exactly.
But if these spirit families are seeking to support each other and grow, why would less evolved souls be born into them? Wouldn't that just create more challenges?
It could definitely cause friction,
Yeah.
but ultimately it helps everyone involved.
Yeah.
Think of it like the more evolved souls have a chance to practice being patient,
Oh, okay.
compassionate, and understanding. They kind of become these beacons of light,
Yeah.
helping those who are still trying to find their way.
So the challenges actually become opportunities for everyone to learn and grow faster.
Exactly. It's like this cosmic classroom where everyone's learning from each other, regardless of where they are on their spiritual path.
I love that analogy. And who knows, maybe those less evolved souls that we encounter in this life, even the ones that are really difficult,
Right.
maybe someday they'll become our spiritual peers or even our mentors in future lifetimes.
You never know. The student can become the master.
It's such a mind-blowing idea. It really flips the script on everything.
It does.
It makes you think about those challenging family members, the ones who really push our buttons.
Right.
They could actually be helping us develop spiritually more than anyone else.
Absolutely.
This whole idea of past life connections influencing our family now is so interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
It really makes me wonder, who have we encountered in past lives? And what roles have we played in each other's journeys? I guess we'll never know, huh?
It's one of life's great mysteries.
It really is. Well, I think that's a good place to stop for now.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've talked about.
Absolutely.
And when we come back, we'll continue our deep dive into the gospel according to the spirits. We'll explore how these ideas of spirit families and reincarnation can help us understand and maybe even find comfort in challenging family relationships.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. Welcome back. It's pretty amazing diving into Kardec's The Gospel according to the spirits.
Yeah,
It's really making me see family in a whole new light.
it is fascinating.
It's not just about our immediate relatives, you know?
Right.
It's like there are these deeper connections, these soul connections that maybe go back lifetimes.
Yeah, it's really compelling.
It makes you think about things differently.
Definitely. And you know what?
What?
This whole idea of these deeper connections can be really comforting.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, especially when we're facing those difficult family situations.
Oh, right, right.
Like instead of feeling trapped in all this negativity,
Yeah.
you could start to see those challenges as opportunities.
Opportunities for what?
Well, for growth,
Yeah.
for transformation, not just for ourselves, but for everyone involved.
That's interesting. It's like those relatives who always seem to push our buttons.
Right.
They're kind of like our spiritual workout buddies in a way.
I love that analogy.
They're helping us to become stronger, more compassionate people.
Exactly. Even if it doesn't always feel like it at the time.
Yeah, totally. But let's be honest, sometimes those workouts can feel pretty intense.
Yeah, they can feel.
And, Kardec talks about this idea of spirits carrying these unresolved emotions, maybe even desires for revenge into the afterlife.
He does.
How does that impact our families now?
Well, he suggests that some spirits who are really driven to evolve and progress,
Okay.
they might actually choose to reincarnate into the family of someone they wronged in a past life.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
It's seen as this kind of test, a way for both people to grow.
So like a child who just has this deep animosity towards a parent that you can't really explain,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
could be rooted in some past life conflict.
It's possible. It's like they're working through this old karma.
Wow, heavy stuff. It's not about punishment though, right?
Right. It's not about blame or punishment at all.
Okay.
It's about giving both people a chance to heal and grow.
Right. It must be so hard for parents to approach these situations with love and understanding when they feel like their child is pushing them away.
Oh, for sure. It would be incredibly difficult.
What does Kardec say about that?
Well, he encourages parents to not see these children as burdens,
Mm-hmm.
but as souls who are entrusted to their care
Oh, okay.
to help them on their spiritual journey.
Okay.
Imagine seeing that child who's being difficult as a soul who's actually working through something from a past life.
Yeah.
They're trying to find healing and resolution.
I can see how that would completely change the dynamic.
It reframes the whole thing.
Instead of taking it personally, it becomes this opportunity for growth.
Exactly. And speaking of growth,
Yeah.
I want to go back to that idea of spirit families.
Oh, right. Those groups of souls that are drawn to each other across multiple lifetimes.
Right? It makes you wonder, are some of the people we're drawn to in this life, even the ones we maybe butt heads with,
Yeah.
could they actually be part of our spirit family?
That's a cool idea.
It is. It makes those random encounters, those connections we feel, so much more meaningful.
Yeah. Like there was a reason for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it makes me think, if those spirit families are all about support and growth, why would less evolved souls be born into them?
Right. Wouldn't that just create more challenges?
It can cause some friction, yeah.
Okay.
But ultimately, it actually benefits everyone. The more evolved souls get to practice being patient, compassionate, and understanding.
Yeah.
It's like they become these guides,
Oh, right. Leading the way.
Exactly, illuminating the path for those who are still finding their way.
So the challenges that happen within these spirit families,
Yes.
those are really just opportunities to speed up the learning process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone benefits from it, even if it's not always comfortable.
Right, right. It's like we're all in this cosmic classroom together, learning from each other no matter where we're at on our journey.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe those less evolved souls we meet now,
Yeah,
even the ones who are super difficult,
right.
maybe they'll become our spiritual peers someday, or even our mentors in future lifetimes.
Wow, that's kind of mind-blowing. The student becomes the master.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It really changes everything, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Makes you think about those tough family members, the ones who really push our buttons.
You
They might actually be helping us more than anyone else.
never know. They could be our greatest teachers.
Wow, that's a really profound thought. So we've got these past life connections that are influencing our families now.
Wow.
It makes you think, who have we met in those past lives? And what roles have we played in each other's journeys?
It's a beautiful mystery.
It really is. But, it makes me think about death, too.
Oh, how so?
Well, if these connections span lifetimes, does that mean we might see our loved ones again after they pass?
That's a lovely thought.
Uh,
And Kardec's view on death is actually really comforting.
Hmm.
He doesn't see it as an ending,
Oh, okay.
but as a transition to another realm where those connections we have, those soul connections, they continue.
That's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
not goodbye. It's like, see you later.
Exactly. It
Mm.
brings a lot of hope,
Yes.
especially when we're grieving.
It does. It really does. But how do we cultivate those connections, those soul connections, both in this life and beyond?
Well, Kardec really emphasized the importance of things like prayer and meditation
Okay.
as ways to connect with our higher selves and get guidance from the spiritual realm.
Okay.
Those practices can really strengthen our spiritual ties to our loved ones, both the ones here and the ones who have passed.
So it's not just about honoring our parents in this physical world, but also nurturing those deeper connections, the ones that go beyond lifetimes.
Exactly. It's like building a family tree that goes beyond what we see here,
Right.
connecting us to this whole network of souls who are supporting and guiding us and loving us.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it reminds us that we're not alone on this journey, right?
Absolutely. We're surrounded by this spiritual family, both here and in the spiritual realm, who are with us every step of the way.
Well, I think we need to take another short break. But
Okay.
when we come back, we'll continue our deep dive into the gospel according to the spirits.
Sounds good.
We'll explore Kardec's ideas about how we can actually apply these amazing concepts to our everyday lives,
Okay.
especially when it comes to forgiveness and healing within our families.
I'm looking forward to that.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. This deep dive into Kardec's The Gospel, according to the spirits, has been eye-opening.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating book.
It really has. It makes you think about family completely differently.
Sure.
Like, it's not just about who you're related to in this life, but those connections, those soul connections, that can go back lifetimes.
Yeah, it's a whole different way of looking at it.
It is. And, it can actually be really comforting, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when you're dealing with those tough family dynamics. It's like, instead of feeling stuck, you start to see those challenges as chances to grow, to learn, to transform.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
It really is. And, one thing that keeps coming up for me is this idea of forgiveness.
Oh, yeah. Forgiveness is huge in Kardec's work.
It is. We hear about it all the time,
Right.
But when you think about it in the context of spirit families and past lives, it takes on a whole new meaning.
It really does.
Like, it's not just about letting go of anger in this life. It's about healing wounds that might go back centuries.
Exactly. Kardec believed that forgiveness is absolutely essential for us to evolve spiritually.
So it's not just about being nice. It's about something deeper.
Right. It's not about saying what someone did was okay. It's about recognizing that we're all on this journey and sometimes we mess up.
We're all human, right?
Exactly. And by choosing to forgive, even when it's really hard, we're actually freeing ourselves
Freeing ourselves from what?
from those negative emotions, like
Yeah.
resentment, bitterness, anger.
Yeah.
That stuff just weighs us down.
Right, like baggage you're carrying around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Forgiveness helps us drop those bags and move on.
But it's not always easy, is it?
No, it's definitely not easy. It takes a lot of work.
Especially when we've been hurt really badly.
Absolutely. But the rewards are huge.
So how do we cultivate that forgiveness, especially within our families, where those wounds can be so deep?
Well, Kardec emphasizes that forgiveness isn't a one-time thing.
Okay.
It's an ongoing process. It takes patience and it takes self-compassion.
So we might need to forgive the same person multiple times.
Yeah, exactly. And that's okay. It's about consciously choosing to let go of those negative emotions over and over again if you need to.
Wow, it sounds like a muscle we need to strengthen.
It is. It really is. The more you practice forgiveness, the easier it becomes.
And Kardec recommends prayer and meditation to help us with that process, right?
He does. He says connecting with our higher selves, asking for guidance, can give us the strength to forgive, even in the toughest situations.
So it's like we're tapping into this source of support that's always available to us.
Exactly. We're not alone in this.
But how do we actually bring all of this into our everyday lives, with our families, I mean?
Well, Kardec encourages us to see those relationships, even the tough ones, as opportunities.
Opportunities for what?
For spiritual growth. Instead of getting angry or frustrated,
Hmm?
we can pause for a minute and ask ourselves, what's this situation teaching me? How can I respond with love, even when it's hard?
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
It is. It's about seeing those challenging family members not as the enemy,
Right.
but as companions on this journey, we're all on.
Fellow travelers, kind of?
Exactly. And who knows, maybe they're actually playing a specific role in our development, helping us learn and grow.
It's like they're holding up a mirror, showing us the parts of ourselves we need to work on.
Yeah, exactly. It's not always fun, but it can be really transformative.
It makes me wonder, what would Kardec say to those people who feel lost and alone in their families, the ones who just crave that sense of belonging?
Well, he would probably remind them that they're never truly alone. We're all part of this massive spiritual family, connected by love and a shared purpose.
Right, it goes beyond our immediate family.
Absolutely. And even if our earthly families aren't giving us what we need, there's this whole network of souls here and in the spiritual realm who are there for us.
It's a really beautiful thought. It's like we've got this backup system, this spiritual safety net.
Exactly. And it brings us back to that idea of spirit families, those groups of souls who travel together across lifetimes, supporting each other every step of the way.
That's such a comforting image. It reminds us that even when things are tough, we're always held within this web of love.
That's the beauty of it,
Yeah.
that love transcends everything. It connects us to those who truly resonate with our souls.
Well, this deep dive into the gospel according to the spirits has been incredible. It's given me a whole new understanding of family and forgiveness and those connections that unite us all.
Me too. Kardec's work is so powerful. It reminds us that even the most difficult relationships can be transformed into something beautiful.
It's about choosing love, choosing compassion, and nurturing those soul connections both in this life and beyond.
It is. And when we do that, everything changes.
It really does. This deep dive has given us so much to think about, so much to explore. It makes you wonder, what if those tough relationships, the ones that really challenge us, are actually the biggest opportunities for us to grow spiritually? And what if the bonds we create in this life are just a small part of a much bigger story, a story that unfolds across lifetimes? Thanks for joining us on this journey into the gospel according to the spirits. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep searching, and keep diving deep.